What's up, crafters? Thank you for joining me today. Today we're going to be finishing up this series on prop finishing, and today we're going to be finally painting and weathering this DMR. I'm very excited to get this going, so without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in. Okay, now before we get going too far, I just want to show you guys what paints I'll be using. I picked up this Vallejo Model Air metallic kit, and so I'll be using that. I've never used Vallejo paints before. I'm trying this one out because I want to see what they're like, how good they work, and if they work for me. So we're going to be learning these together, but this is what I'll be using. We're going to paint this DMR, and it's going to look good, hopefully. Okay, so here I've got I'll be painting with an airbrush. This is just a kit I got on Amazon. I'll provide a link to it, but this is an Iwata Eclipse with some cheapo air compressor outside of the shop. And then I've got just a cup of water here and some masking tape and paper towels. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up some images of the DMR that I'm going for, or of the DMR that I'll be painting, so I know what's where, or what's what color, and then I'm going to look that over, I'm going to mask it off, and I'm going to just, we're just going to see how this goes. So before we do anything to this prop, since we leak sealed it, we're going to want to spritz over it with a bunch of rubbing alcohol and just wipe it down, make sure it's got a good clean surface before we get going too far. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. And then a microfiber cloth, and we're just going to wipe this down. Actually, I've got to put on some gloves so I don't get my finger oils right back onto it. So all I'm doing here is I'm just wiping off all of the alcohol, getting all the fingerprints and hand oils off of the piece, and I'm wearing gloves to avoid putting hand oils back onto it. Okay, so here we are. We are now finally painting the prop. Although I will admit there's not actually too much exciting going on here. Basically, all I've done is I've masked off sections that I'm not painting a certain color, and then I'm just using my airbrush to paint whatever color I'm going for. To decide what colors I'm painting where, I was just looking at game reference images for the prop that I'm making, which is a Halo Reach DMR. And I was just choosing whatever paints I had available that looked closest to the colors in the game. Unfortunately, I didn't seem to have a lot of darker colors in that metallic kit that I picked up, so I actually ended up also using some of my Tamiya alcohol-based paints for the darker sections. I'll provide links to the colors that I used in the description, but other than that, there's not too much going on here. Just mask off sections, put some paint down, and rinse and repeat until you're done. One thing I just want to mention is it's important to make sure you have enough tape down on your prop to prevent unwanted paint areas from getting oversprayed and getting colors that you don't want on there. So just make sure you've got enough tape down for your painting style. Okay, here we go. Even though I deviated from the game's color scheme just a little bit, I'm actually very pleased with how this turned out. Now, the next step is going to be weathering, doing some black and brown wash and then some scratches just to make it pop a little bit more and make it look a little bit more real. So first I'm going to do a brown wash. It doesn't matter if you do a brown wash or a black wash first, but basically all I'm doing is I've just got a cup full of water that I squirted a whole bunch of brown acrylic paint into, just to cheapest brand of whatever works fine, and I'm just rubbing this all over my prop. After waiting a few minutes for that paint to settle and get into some of the crevices, I'm just going to dab off and rub off as much of this paint as I can, leaving only just the littlest bits sitting in the corners where my rag can't get to. This is going to give it a nice, rustic, weathered look. Here we're doing the same thing with black wash as we did with the brown wash. I've just got a cup of water that I filled with a bunch of black acrylic paint, and we're just going to wipe over the prop again, and then wipe it all off. Okay, now this step I would consider a little bit more optional than the black and brown wash. What I'm doing here is I have cut a small triangle off of some upholstery foam, and I dipped it just lightly into some silver acrylic paint, and then I wiped most of that paint off, and I'm now dry brushing just the smallest amounts of silver acrylic paint onto the edges of my prop. I say this is optional because typically a real gun doesn't have this much weathering. There's not going to be this many silver edges on there. But the Halo developers really like adding all of these highlights and weathered edges, and so I added just a little bit of those into my prop as well. If you want your prop to look a little cleaner, you can go ahead and skip this step. Alrighty, thank you all for watching. I hope you found this video useful. If you've used anything in this tutorial to paint a prop of your own and you post it on Instagram, I would love to see it. So feel free to tag me in the post. I've got a link to my account in the description. But that concludes this series on prop finishing, and so I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.